Shu Kai and Tan Songyun, the forgotten promise that almost changed everything. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional drama stories, celebrity moments, and unforgettable tales of love. Some promises are made in beautiful moments. Some are whispered quietly between two people who believe they will remember them forever. And then there are promises that seem so ordinary at the time that no one realizes just how important they are, until the day one person forgets. For Shu Kai and Tan Songyun, one forgotten promise would become a painful reminder that even the strongest relationships can be tested by something as simple as time. Because sometimes, the person you love most doesn't leave because they stopped loving you. Sometimes, they simply become tired of feeling forgotten. And this story begins with a date neither of them expected to become a turning point. For years, Shu Kai had been known as the dependable one. His career was constantly moving forward. New dramas, promotional events, interviews, rehearsals, brand commitments, and endless filming schedules seemed to fill every corner of his life. Yet whenever it came to Tan Songyun, he always tried to make time. That was one of the things she admired most about him. She never expected him to be perfect. She understood that his career demanded sacrifices. She understood the long filming hours, the sudden schedule changes, and the exhausting pressure that came with being in the public eye. But there was something she believed was more important than success. Time. Not all the time in the world. Just enough time to remind each other. We're still here. Years earlier, Shu Kai had made her a simple promise. No matter how complicated their lives became, no matter how many cities they traveled to, no matter how busy their careers became, there would always be one day they would protect for themselves. The anniversary of the day they first met. It wasn't an extravagant tradition. There were no expensive gifts. No elaborate parties. Usually, they simply spent the day together, talked about old memories, ate their favorite food, and laughed about how different their lives had been when they first crossed paths. But that small tradition meant everything to Tan Songyun. And for years, they never missed it. Until one particularly busy season changed everything. Both Shu Kai and Tan Songyun had accepted major projects. Their schedules became increasingly demanding. One week they were in one city. The next week, they were hundreds of kilometers away. Their days were filled with filming, interviews, rehearsals, fittings, meetings, and late-night script revisions. Sometimes they could only speak for a few minutes before one of them had to return to work. Still, they tried. Every night, whenever possible, they called each other. Sometimes they talked for an hour. Sometimes only 5 minutes. But those calls became their little bridge across the distance. Then, one morning, Tan Songyun opened the calendar on her phone. She froze. 3 days. Only 3 days remained until their anniversary. A small smile appeared on her face. She immediately remembered Shu Kai's promise. For once, she decided she wouldn't wait for him to arrange something. She would surprise him. Quietly, she began rearranging her schedule. She declined several interviews. She asked her team whether some scenes could be completed earlier. She even persuaded the director to allow her to finish certain filming commitments ahead of schedule. It wasn't easy. But she didn't mind. She wanted one day that belonged entirely to them. She imagined Shukai's expression when he opened the door and found her standing there. She imagined them laughing. Maybe they would visit the place where they first met. Maybe they would recreate their first meal together. Maybe they would simply stay home. To Tan Songyun, it didn't matter. She only wanted to see him. Meanwhile, Shukai had no idea what was coming. His own project had suddenly fallen behind schedule. Bad weather interrupted filming. Several important scenes had to be reshot. Production deadlines became tighter. Producers began demanding changes. Investors wanted the schedule maintained. Every hour seemed to bring another problem. His assistant reminded him about meetings. His manager reminded him about interviews. The production team needed script revisions. Wardrobe fittings had to be completed. Promotional activities were added to an already packed calendar. Shukai tried to keep up with everything. But somewhere in the chaos, one important reminder disappeared. The anniversary. He didn't intentionally ignore it. He simply forgot. And sometimes, that can hurt even more. 3 days passed. Then came the morning of their anniversary. Tan Songyun arrived quietly at the apartment. In one hand, she carried breakfast from their favorite cafe. In the other was a small wrapped gift. She had even brought the spare key. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was silent. She smiled. Perhaps Shukai was still asleep. Perhaps he had gone out briefly. She placed the breakfast on the table and waited. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. She checked her phone. Nothing. She tried calling. No answer. She told herself not to overthink it. He was probably busy. Maybe there had been another schedule change. So she waited a little longer. Then her phone suddenly buzzed. A notification appeared. An entertainment broadcast was showing a major promotional event. Tan Songyun opened it. And there he was. Shukai. Standing on a red carpet. Smiling. Laughing. Answering questions from reporters. Surrounded by cameras and fans. He looked completely relaxed. Completely unaware. Tan Songyun stared at the screen. For a moment, she didn't move. It wasn't the event that hurt. She knew his career was important. She knew promotional appearances couldn't always be avoided. What hurt was realizing that while she had spent days rearranging her life just to make this day special, he hadn't remembered it at all. Not even once. Her smile disappeared. She slowly looked toward the small gift sitting on the table. For a few seconds, she simply stared at it. Then she picked it up. She placed it beside 2 cups of coffee. She didn't leave a message. She didn't send an angry text. She didn't call again. She simply walked out. Hours later, Shukai finally returned home. He was exhausted. His mind was still filled with work. He walked into the apartment, dropped his belongings, and headed toward the kitchen. Then he noticed something. A wrapped box. He stopped. He looked at it curiously. Beside the box were 2 cups of coffee. Both were cold. Something about the scene made him uncomfortable. He picked up the gift and slowly opened it. Inside was a framed photograph. It was from the day they first met. Shukai stared at the picture. Then he noticed something written behind the frame. A handwritten message. "Thank you for keeping your promise all these years. I guess this year life became a little too busy. I'll always treasure our memories." His expression changed instantly. He looked at the date. Then looked at the calendar. His heart sank. The anniversary. He had forgotten. Completely. And suddenly, everything from the past few days seemed meaningless. The meetings. The filming. The promotional event. The deadlines. None of it mattered compared with the realization that the person waiting for him had walked away feeling forgotten. He immediately grabbed his phone. He called Songyun. No answer. Again. Nothing. He called people around her. No one knew where she was. He checked the places she usually visited. Nothing. The evening grew darker. And with every unanswered call, his anxiety increased. Then he remembered. There was one place Songyun often went whenever she needed to clear her mind. A quiet hill overlooking the city. It was also the place where they had once shared one of their earliest conversations. Shukai didn't hesitate. He grabbed his keys and drove there. By the time he arrived, the sun was beginning to disappear. The city lights were slowly turning on below. And then he saw her. Songyun was sitting alone on a wooden bench. She was watching the skyline in silence. Shukai slowed his steps. For the first time that day, he had no idea what to say. He approached her carefully. She heard him. But she didn't turn around. He stood there for several seconds. Then finally sat beside her. Neither spoke. The silence between them felt heavier than any argument. Eventually, Shukai broke it. "I forgot." His voice was quiet. There was no excuse behind it. No attempt to defend himself. Just the truth. "I don't have an excuse. I got lost in work." Songyun continued looking toward the city. Then she finally spoke. "I wasn't angry because you missed a date." Shukai looked at her. She continued. "I was afraid." Those 2 words hit him harder than anything else. She explained that she wasn't afraid of one forgotten anniversary. She was afraid of what it represented. She was afraid that one day, their lives would become nothing more than schedules, meetings, filming locations, airports, and obligations. That they would become 2 people living busy lives, while slowly becoming strangers. Shukai listened without interrupting. And in that moment, he finally understood. She hadn't wanted a grand celebration. She hadn't wanted an expensive gift. She hadn't needed a perfect romantic gesture. She simply wanted to know that their relationship still had a place in his life. That they still mattered. That their memories hadn't been pushed aside by the demands of his career. Shukai reached into his pocket. He pulled out the event badge he had worn throughout the day. He looked at it for a moment. Then, without hesitation, he broke it in half. "Jobs will always come," he said. "There will always be another drama. Another interview. Another event. Another deadline." He looked directly at her. "But if I lose us, no award, no success, and no career achievement could ever replace what I lost." Songyun finally turned toward him. Her eyes were filled with tears. But this time, she smiled. "I don't need you to be perfect," she whispered. "I just need us to remember why we started." Shukai reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Their fingers slowly intertwined. And as the last light of the sunset disappeared behind the skyline, the anniversary they had almost forgotten became the most important anniversary they had ever experienced. Not because everything had gone perfectly, but because they had finally talked about what truly mattered. That night, they made a new promise. A simpler one. No matter how busy their lives became, they would protect at least one day every month that belonged only to them. No phones. No meetings. No cameras. No work. Just two people choosing each other again. Because love doesn't always disappear in one dramatic moment. Sometimes it fades quietly. Through unanswered messages. Through postponed plans. Through forgotten dates. Through the phrase, "I'm too busy today." And that's why the smallest promises can sometimes become the most important ones. Because love isn't only about the grand gestures. It is also about remembering. Remembering the first conversation. Remembering the first laugh. Remembering the person who stood beside you before the world knew your name. And remembering that success means very little if you have no one left to share it with. For Shukai and Songyun, the forgotten promise became a painful lesson. But it also became a new beginning. They learned that relationships don't survive simply because two people love each other. They survive because two people continue to choose each other, even when life becomes difficult, exhausting, and impossibly busy. And perhaps that is the real meaning of a promise. Not that you will never forget, but that when you do, you are willing to remember what truly matters. So, if someone you love has been waiting for your time lately, maybe this is your reminder. Put down the phone. Step away from the work. Make the call. Keep the promise. Because sometimes, the person you love isn't asking for the world. They are simply asking to know that they still have a place in it. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional drama stories, unforgettable relationship moments, and inspiring entertainment stories. And remember, the promises we almost forget are sometimes the ones we need to keep the most. We'll see you in the next video.